Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video here today for round 2 of the RTA Mustang Cup. This is my first race in the championship. Round 1 was last week around Willow Springs, and I obviously didn't race in that because 1, I didn't have the track and I didn't want to buy it just to do one race, and 2, because I was racing in the F4 championship. So if you missed the video on that, make sure you go and give that one a look. So as we're out here for qualifying now, we're going to have a quick look at the calendar, and as you can see, 8 rounds all in North America, and unfortunately I'm only going to be able to do about half the races in this because I want to race in the F4 championship, and I'm going to prioritise that simply because I just prefer racing in Formula cars than I do in sports cars. But yeah, still going to try and see how well we can do at this and try and get back into the swing of things of some GT racing. So in terms of the format for this championship, starting out with a 15-minute qualifying session, and that sets the grid for Heat 1, which is a 10-minute race. Then the finishing order from Heat 1 sets the grid for Heat 2, which is 15 minutes long. And then the final feature race is 20 minutes long, and the grid is set 5 heat race 2 with the top 8 inverted. So if you finish first in Heat 2, you start from 8 in the feature race. So as we come up to the final turn then to start our first lap in this qualifying session, this is once again actually going to be our quickest lap in qualifying. So qualifying is definitely something that I need to improve on for these championships and just in general. But heading up the hill now towards turn 1, the tight left-hander, braking just before that cone on the left hand side, trying to make sure to hit the apex and try and get a good exit as we head down the hill towards turn 2. Flat out through the right-hander, the first of the S's, in 4th gear and keeping it in 4th, flash through the left, braking then for the right and down into 3rd for the second left-hander. Not a great run through there, rubbing off a bit too much speed as we hold it in 3rd gear through the long right. Still in 3rd then for this left and the last part of the S's. Up the hill for this tricky chicane, cut the corner as much as you can get away with in 2nd gear and trying to get a good exit, not lose the back end or to run wide. Through the kink then of turn 10 as we run down the hill to the second left hand hairpin of turn 11. Important to try and get a good exit here as it leads on to the longest straight on the track. Get a decent exit there, but nothing too great, and now we get a bit of a rest as we go down this straight. Trying to just focus now on picking out your braking point, getting the braking right for once again another tight left-hander of turn 12. Braking just after 150 meters, trying to get the speed down, cut that corner as much as you can once again, and try and get a decent exit. Not very important to get an exit here. Turn 13 then into 14, tricky now to try and get the traction. The car wants to keep stepping away from you, as into double left-hander now into the 3rd sector. Cutting that there a bit too much as the curb jumps us a bit and means we can't get the traction as well as we want to. As now through the iconic triple right-hander, not let out in cars like these as it would be in Formula cars. So at the fair, the throttle is into the second to last turn then, a blind apex, braking and turning in. You can't cut that corner more than you think. As up now into turn 20, the final turn of the lap, a tricky corner as it's very easy I found to spin out on the exit. As you see there, we get a bit of a moment. We cross the line to set a 2-minute 11.5.
10th position, that puts you 1.8 seconds.
At the end of sector 1 then, on our first lap, you can see there that we're over 6.5 tenths up on our previous lap, so there's a lot of time to find just in the first sector there, just getting the lines right and being a bit more committed. But on the exit of turn 9, on the run down to turn 11, we didn't get a great exit, so we lost a lot of our advantage there. As now we speed up down the back straight and into turn 12, we're only 3 tenths up now. We brake late, but we brake a bit too late and we go a bit wide, don't get the line right and lose all of our advantage. So we back out of that lap and we're going to go for another one. Same point on the next lap down, we're about half a second up going into turn 12, and once again we get a bit wrong and lose about 3 tenths off the time we had gained. Traffic ahead, thankfully David gets out of the way for us through turn 13, but unfortunately up ahead Grace is going to lose the car ends up spinning onto the apex and we have to back out of that to avoid a collision, and that is this lap over as well. On the next lap then, we're about a tenth and a half up through the first two turns as we head into the S section. Don't get the line right for the first part and that upsets the car, and we end up losing the back end through the second and third turn of that section. So that is another lap over there from another mistake of ours. Once again, 7 tenths up going into turn 12, and we lose about 4 tenths again through that turn. And now through turn 13, the right hander, we're going to lose even more time, get a big slide there, but somehow we managed to gain on the exit. Through the double left hander, we get the line completely wrong and we lose about 4 tenths there. Lawrence gets out of our way there on the left hand side as we head into the triple right hander. About 2 tenths up and we run a bit wide, don't get a great run there, losing about another tenth, as now into the second last turn we're about even with our best lap, but with no grip due to overheated tyres and probably a very hot track, we lose even more time, and then that is our qualifying over. So in the end we finish up in P16, almost 3 seconds off Oliver Mangan in pole, so not a great qualifying. A perfect lap, I think it could have got into the top 8, but we're going to start heat race 1 from down the grid. So as we head up now towards the final turn on this rolling start, which is pretty much the standard for GT racing, get going now for the first 10-minute heat race, trying to get a good start and not fall too far back. Thought the leader would have went out to turn 1 there to try and get a bit of a jump, but did decide on this occasion, as when the field goes together, a really bad start as Colin gets a better start behind us. Managed to pull up in front as we head up the hill into turn 1. Just trying to keep it clean here, so I brake early, decide to take the outside line as I see smoke on the inside and cars crashing. Avoid one, have to avoid another then going off the track there as there's cars everywhere really, and now I don't really know where I am at the moment until it all settles out. I think I'm up into P13 there, so as we go through the S, there's actually another car off on the right hand side, so we're up into 13, the net gain of 3 places on this opening lap so far, as heading through the end of sector 1 now. Bit of a check up there of the cars ahead, so really at this point I'm just trying to stay close and not get into any collisions, make any moves if they present themselves, and if not, just try and pick up a few freebies. This car is the first time properly racing. I've done a few practice laps to get ready for this race, but yeah, really just going to keep getting more comfortable with this car and this track as the race goes on. As through the hairpin off turn 11 we get a much better exit than Gary in the car ahead of us in the slipstream, which seems to be very powerful here. Try and go to the inside, Gary squeezed there, but we find a bit more room on the left hand side as we pick our braking point into the hairpin off turn 12. Brake very well and manage to outbrake Gary as we move up into 12 and get up another position in this opening lap, and our first one from an actual overtake. Gary tries to challenge us back there, but wasn't close enough and we managed to hold the position. Into the final sector now, and a pretty big gap to John McDonald, who is ahead of us. So just trying to hopefully close that gap in now and pull away from the cars behind. I'm fairly confident that there's a few cars behind us who are much quicker than I am, who have a lot more confidence in this car and this track, so the bigger gap we can get now, the better it'll be for us, and try and hold more positions. As through the final turn then to finish the first lap of this 10-minute heat race in 12th, up 4 positions from the start. So pretty good opening lap in this series for us. So as you skip ahead then to the end of lap 4 with 1 minute left, this is the final lap of the race. So not really too much has happened in this race. The gap behind, we've managed to extend it a bit. I think there was a few battles or incidents there. And the gap ahead has grown a small bit, but not too much. As you might have just seen there, John McDonald having a little bit of a look on Cal for 10th place, and that was something I noticed during this race. There's John ahead, he was going for a lot of different lines, kind of narrow lines, diving towards the apex, and it always kind of looked like he was going to have a move. As we fast forward through the first sector and into turn 11, the hairpin, John does have an actual proper look on Colin this time down the inside. And when I saw that happen, I was trying to focus on getting a good exit to maybe try and challenge these into turn 12, but weren't able to as we cut the corner a bit too much, hit the curb a bit too hard, and what it meant we weren't able to get the exit I wanted. As now John does have a look down the inside, Colin goes narrow to defend as up ahead Sean McClelland. He's after having a spin at turn 12 to regain position there. Now we're on the outside of John, trying to make a move around the outside of 13. He has the inside line, but we managed to hold it around the outside. I think he started to run a bit wide from looking at the replay, and he had to back out a bit, so it meant we were able to get the move done there. So we gained 2 positions at the end of this first lap, up into 10th now, so definitely take that as a very good result from P16 in just 10 minutes in our first race in this car. So just trying to keep it clean now through the final 2 turns. Pretty sure I'm not going to gain anything here, so just making sure I don't lose anything as well, as through the final turn then taking it nice and easy, getting on the throttle nice and gently to not spin out as we come across the line to finish heat 1 in 10th place. So yeah, top 10 finish in the first race here today, and really could have only made up 1 more space getting John McDonald for 9th. But we're going to start heat race 2 now from P10, so hopefully we can try and move forward a few more spots in this one too. So getting ready to start heat 2 here now, and just going to try and avoid any chaos like we did in the first race, see if we can pick up any spots from others having issues. But through the final turn now, and I was a bit caught out here as the leaders go a lot earlier than they did in the first race, and we're already a second behind the car in front, and Sean McClelland gets a much better run than we do, as in the slipstream up to turn 1 he gets the inside line. I decide to take the outside so we can avoid any incidents that might happen, but unfortunately for us there wasn't any on this occasion, as we lose spot to Sean, but we managed to gain 1 spot on the car that started on the road with us out of the final turn. So we gained 1, we lost 1 on this first lap, so not the best start, but at least we didn't lose any. Skipping ahead then 2 laps there onto lap 3, going through the S's. There's a car off on the right hand side, that's Rowan Doherty, the winner of the feature race from round 1 at Willow Springs. So another free place here, as we're still about the same distance behind the cars ahead as we were now up into P9 in this race. Skipping out to the end of that lap into the final turn. Through the final corner there's another car off there on the right hand side, that was Evan Walsh, but out of the final turn a bit distracted by that car off, we get a big slide and a really bad run onto the main pit straight. Probably overheated our tyres there, so I'm going to have to try and take it a bit carefully through the next few turns until the temperatures get under control. John McDonald there, as we saw in the last race, having a bit of a dive towards the inside of turn 1. As we fast forward here through the S's into the end of the S's, we go a bit wide through that turn there, turn 7, and then through turn 8 we go wide once again because of our bad line through the corner previous. That gives us a bad exit out of turn 9 and through turn 10 and down towards turn 11, and John is really close behind us. You can see already he's gone to the inside, dives down the inside, and Lawrence takes that opportunity to also make a big dive there. As John goes a bit wide, it means we can't get the exit that we would have wanted to try and re-challenge these cars, as they're side by side now ahead of us. We're in the slipstream, bit of a door banging as we go down the back straight. I'm just going to let these do what they want and see if we can pick up these positions when they probably crash. Brake early into turn 12, take that curb a bit too much, don't get a great exit, and Lawrence and John managed to make it safely through that hairpin, going side by side with all their battling. Into the third sector then, through turn 13 and 14 into 15, have a bit of a slide, nothing too serious though, as Tony behind us gets very close, and out of turn 15 we get a much better exit than John, but through the triple right-hander of 16, 17 and 18 we're not able to make a move through here unfortunately. As down into the second to last turn then we close up on the brakes, but he gets a better run through that turn and we get another big slide. As up into the final corner then, I'm not really sure what I was thinking about. I was trying to put a bit of pressure on John around the outside, and we go a bit too wide, and pretty much all that means was we got a worse exit and lost time to him and to the car behind. As up into turn 1 then, up the hill, this tricky left-hander that I thought I was pretty good at, but it seems that I'm losing a lot of time here, as Lawrence, who's 2 cars ahead of us, goes a bit wide and we close up to him, but nothing really doing there, and we remain in P10 now after losing those spots. But towards the end of that lap now, this is where our race is going to completely unravel, as through the triple right-hander we get on the curb too much, have a bit of a slide and lose the back end of the car, spinning to the inside, hitting the barrier, and now we have to just sit on the outside of the track waiting for all this traffic to go past so we don't rejoin unsafely and cause any collision or get a penalty. But yeah, we dropped from P10 down into P21, and that pretty much was our race over. On lap 6 then, the next lap after that crash on the back straight, Kevin Joyce behind us. Because of the damage we have such bad straight line speed now. I pulled to the inside to give him the racing line, but he decides to go further left and take the inside line into the hairpin of turn 12. As we lose another spot down into P20 now, after I think I gained a few places from a few other issues for other drivers. On the last lap now, going through the S's, and we're going to make another little mistake here, as through the second part we get a big slide, and luckily we managed to keep it out of the barrier on this occasion, but once again we lose another spot to Philip. Now down into P22, I'm not really sure what's going on with the overlay really. We were in P20, we lose one spot, and now we're down into P22, so iOverlay seems to be having a few issues with trying to track where I actually am in this race. But anyway, on the final lap now, heading into the final sector, somehow back up into P20, but that's going to change going into the final turn, as on the left hand side Tommy and Simon seem to have had a bit of a coming together there, so again 2 spots on the last lap up into P18 as through the final corner now, coming up to cross the line and end what was, in all honesty, a pretty disastrous race. So it's actually P20 then in the end. Those overlays are starting to annoy me now. Almost a minute off the winner, which was Jordan Kelly, and I feel like I probably could have fought for a top 10 or a top 12 in that race without the incidents. But one race left now, the 20-minute feature starting from 20th. So for the final time then here from Texas and the Circuit of the Americas, out of the final turn, going to try and get a better start than we did in the previous race. And as the lights go green, the leaders go earlier once again, but we managed to get a much better jump this time, and we're not a second behind the car ahead. As up into turn 1 now, once again just like the previous two, going to take the wide line to try and avoid any incidents that might happen. Managed to carry good momentum around the outside, and we actually get a move done around the outside of turn 1 on Colin, up in 1 spot now. The overlay says 16th, but I'm not going to leave that at the moment, as now it obviously says we're down to 17th, which I still don't know if it's right. Through the S's then, through the left-hander of turn 16, just trying to keep it nice and tidy on this opening lap until the tyres warm up. As our race engineer then gives us a bit of encouragement as we have a good start to this race, and going to keep fighting now to try and make up a few more positions on this opening lap. Speaking of the opening lap, we're just at the end of it now. We're right up behind Kevin Joyce ahead of us. We have a little look to the inside, just trying to put him off really. He goes defensive then. Tried to make a move around the outside then, but unfortunately for us, there was a car behind us. I'm not really sure who it was, but they had a look up our inside there. I didn't see them until we were after making contact. Luckily for us, we managed to keep going, but unfortunately they did spin out. So whoever that was, if they happened to see this, sorry about that, but it was a bit of a late dive, and there wasn't really much that I could have done to avoid that there that late into the corner. Lap 2 then, we're onto the back straight. Kevin ahead made a move on Colin, who is now the car ahead of us, through the hairpin of turn 11, now down the back straight. Colin brakes really early there, kind of caught me out a bit, so we have to take avoiding action more so than anything to the inside of turn 12 and get a move done up another place on lap 2. And now we're just going to try and keep close to the cars ahead, and on lap 4 then we skip ahead even further through the middle sector. We have a moment once again through that turn. It's really been catching me out a few times in qualifying and in the previous races. We go off the track and take them very carefully, coming back on to not rejoin unsafely, but we lose 2 spots there, and now we really hit the curb going through turn 7 and don't get a great run, so lose 2 spots there from that little mistake. As on to lap 5 into turn 11. Tommy in the orange car has a big dive on Colin into the
10 minutes left, 10
hairpin.
minutes to go.
They both get a really bad
Okay on
exit. We
fuel.
take a nice run through that turn to get a good exit onto this straight. All three of us now are well within the slipstream of each other.
On your right.
I was expecting Colin to move out there to try and have a go, but since he didn't, I did have a go on him. And then into turn 12, we tried to have a go on Tommy into the brake zone. We brake about the same, but he carries more momentum around the outside and holds the place into P13, into turn 13. A lap later then, in the same part of the track, we're still nice and close to the cars ahead. There was a big group ahead and there was a contact between Kevin Joyce and one of the other cars that sends Kevin into a spin. We get another position there because of that, and unfortunately for him, he spins down the grid. And then through the final turn, David up ahead, he spins out, so we get another place on this lap. So this has been a pretty good lap with gaining places from other people's mistakes, and now we're up into, it says P15, but I'm not really too sure. As onto lap 8 then, into the turn 12 hairpin once again. John and Tommy going side by side. Tommy has the inside, so John has to go wide, and we try to follow Tommy through. We side by side, make a bit of contact through turn 13, as with the inside line I wasn't able to get the traction I really wanted, and then John with the inside line for turn 15 managed to hold on to that position for now. Through the triple right-hander then, we're really close up behind, but once again, like before in the last race, we're not able to make our move through there. As Jamal behind us is getting really close. Into the second to last turn then, and heading up the hill to the final turn. I can see how close Jamal is behind, so we go semi-defensive there to make sure that he can't make a move. He goes a bit wide, but John gets a really bad run through that final turn, and we have to check up to avoid contact so we don't get a great run onto the pit straight, and we're not able to try and make an overtake up the hill into turn 1. We've seen before how late John's braking there, but somehow we managed to close in on the brakes. He takes a narrower line. We try to have a look around the outside, but not enough momentum there to make a move. And now as we start the final lap, lap 10 on the run up into turn 1. Just going to try and keep it nice and clean, but unfortunately we brake way too late. Jamal managed to dip down our inside. We get a much better exit. We go off the track a bit there, but we're not able to get enough of a run to try and challenge back and make up that position that we lost. Skipping then ahead through the middle sector S's and moving on to the run down into turn 11. And Kevin Joyce behind us, I felt he was far too far back there to make a move, but he dives it down the inside. There's a car that was Tommy spun out on the hairpin exit. So we lose one spot and we gain another there. And I'll be honest, I wasn't too happy with some of the driving standards in this race. I felt like there was a lot of diving down the inside of turns and just hoping that the other driver would avoid a collision like it was there. Or at least that's how I felt with Kevin's move. But yeah, anyway, we're into the final half of this race then, the final half of the final lap. I was starting to drive a bit frustrated now because of all the incidents that I've had that were my own fault, and felt like I could have done a lot better here, and then my frustration really started to show here. I was trying to push too hard towards the end of the race to try and get back at Kevin, try and get back that position that I felt like that was overly aggressively taken from me, and we spin out on the second to last turn, so we lose a few positions there. But through the final turn, up to the line, we're going to come across the line and finish the feature race in P80. So once again the overlays were wrong and it's actually P60 we finished, so I'm going to have to look into changing those overlays for the next few races. About 45 seconds behind the winner, which was Oscar Mangan, very quick driver on iRacing, over 8k iRating, so he's definitely going to be one to look out for in this race, as is Jordan Kelly. But looking at the standings then after this race, we're in 22nd, 26 points, but with missing races in this championship, I'm not too worried about the standings, just kind of want to try and improve my driving and just see how far up the championship we can go. But that's all for this one. Until the next video, which will be the second round of the Motorsport Ireland F4 Championship. Thanks for watching and I'll see you then.